Hey guys, it's Summer Rayne from Homestead, Brooklyn, and I'm here in Plantation, Florida at NSE Tropicals. Now, if you remember, we actually did a tour here a little while back, but it was in the winter and it was post-Hurricane Irma. So Enid, who owns NSE Tropicals, said it wasn't looking quite as lush as it is now. So we're here in the summer. It's looking mighty green and very different from what we saw before. So we're going to see what's new here at NSE Tropicals. So welcome to this week's episode of Plant One On Me, Field Trip Edition. The last time I was here, it was winter and post-Hurricane Irma. So it's looking rather lush here now.
It's a lot better this time of year. Everything's green and everything's in grow mode, and nothing has happened to the plants all summer except growth, and it's just great this time of year. Everything looks so good.
What are some of the things that you're going to be showing us today that maybe you didn't show us the last trip?
Well, there's a lot of new plants, and there's a lot more big new leaves that are really exciting to me. You know, to walk out there and see a leaf that is just absolutely perfect and 3 feet long is just one of my favorite things.
And now you've also built a new greenhouse here, or were you repairing a greenhouse from last time?
Well, we had mist houses and Irma tied them up in knots, and so we built a big new shade house. We'll go see that while we're walking around. That's full of plants right now.
Great. Well, I don't want to keep the viewers any more in absolute utter disbelief of this lushness and greenness, so we're going to get on a tour right away.
Okay. Well, this is the awesome Spiritus Sancti, one of the most rare philodendrons in the world. It's not in a lot of collections, and I don't find it any harder to grow than any other philodendron, but it is a little slower to root, and it's hard to get a hold of one, actually.
And tell me why it's rare in collections.
Well, they're expensive, and they're hard to get. There's only a few people that even would ever have one to sell. You've got to kind of know someone that has it that's going to propagate it. Like, I wouldn't cut this, so if someone's got one, they don't want to cut their one, and very few people have a couple, so.
So there's not many in the wild then?
Correct. There's not very many left in the wild, and mostly it's in collections. And this is Anthurium nervatum. It's pretty closely related to Pseudospectabile, which is one of these big, huge growers. Again, not really around. There's a few people that have it, but it's not really around that much. It's an Anthurium veitchii.
A popular one.
Yes, they call that the king Anthurium. And this is one of these varieties. It's in northern Ecuador and Colombia. It's got really tight, we call it narrow veitchii, and it's really more the ribs that are narrow than anything else. And they're generally a narrower, this way too. Really cool plant. This is Philodendron gigas. Some people say gigas. I've heard gigas.
It's whatever you want it to be when it comes to botanical Latin. Whatever rolls off the tongue very easily.
Right, the easiest. This is that hybrid that everybody likes so much, that Wendlingeri scherzerianum. Flower's not quite out. Maybe in another couple of weeks it'll be, but that's one of my favorites. This is Pallidiflorum. I was actually talking people into these at the show yesterday because it's a strap leaf, which I love, and it's velvety too, the two best.
Were you able to convince them to buy them?
Of course, it's very easy when something is velvety, just look at it, it's velvety. This is a hybrid. It goes by a couple of names. They call it circus peanuts because they say the inflorescence smells like those orange, squishy, spongy candies. And also Mike's Goliath, I believe, after Mike Bush that used to work at Selby years ago. So that's a great one because a new leaf is just a big burgundy leaf with red veins. It's a nice plant.
What's this dark, shiny guy right here?
This is a Piper magnificum.
It's beautiful.
I actually have forgotten all about that. That's another one. It was actually in tissue culture 10 or so years ago. And I think they like it a little cooler than Florida, but it likes the wall.
Well, it's also hidden, I think, among all these other big guys, and it's like
I hadn't seen it actually until you pointed it out. I forgot it was there.
It's super glossy. I love it.
Now this is another veitchii that's just more the regular form, the wider, as you notice that the ripples are a little farther apart than that one, and still a great plant. This one came from Fairchild years ago. It's got collection data and everything on it. And this was one of the first veitchii I was ever able to grow, because in the beginning, everyone said it was so difficult. And I just was like, well, it's going to be difficult. Let me keep repotting it until I kill them, you know. So it's just stick it on the wall, and it's just done great.
Was it your first veitchii or the first one that you were able to grow?
First one I was able to do a good job with. My first one, it was in bad shape when I got it. They just weren't around, and you really had to know someone to find one, and they were so expensive. And you know, now it seems like it's a lot easier to find things. And these leaves are all new since the hurricane.
I'm curious about your trial and error when it comes to testing out new plants that you may not have grown before.
Well, at this point, I can kind of tell where it wants to be. Like most of the aroids that I grow want to be in some amount of shade. And you see something fuzzy, and you know it's not a bright light plant in most cases. And generally, when I get something new, I put it in the mist house, so it's humid. It's arrived in a plastic bag, and it's been in a box. And putting it in the greenhouse with mist really helps to keep the leaves and get it rooted again before you set it free in the rest of the place. This is an Anthurium, actually, I got many, many, many years ago, and it just went by the name Round Velvet, and velvet is enough, right? And it loves the wall. Oh, you know what?
It's like a little nice begonia that really stands out right here. It's a very difficult one to grow in the house. I've had it in the house for a little while in a terrarium, and then I lost it. It's a tough one.
Yeah. So this Anthurium veitchii was kind of the highlight of the whole wall all this time. And when I came out here during the hurricane to kind of see what was going on, when I lost the roof, when I walked out here, this plant was spiraling. The leaves were spiraling and snapping off. I had to go back in. I can't even watch it. It's like watching someone be tortured. And it had a couple leaves left that were messed up, but that was, for me, I'm lucky the wall didn't go down, but for me that was probably the hardest part, to see this thing get so messed up. And it's gotten 1, 2, 3. It's gotten 4 leaves since then, and it looks a lot better. But it was twice the size. It was twice the size before. And they're rooted into the wall, you know, and they're probably holding the wall up at this point.
Wow.
So for the smaller things, what I did was, because I lost a lot of the big stuff in this area, I have peperomias and begonias and this medinilla growing under the benches. I put some Monstera adansonii right there. This Anthurium frigidii, which seems to be shrinking. But
and
just...
This is the Parisi, or yeah.
So these things will root right on the wall, and there's pockets from...
Oh, look at that
And
frog.
a bufo toad. There's pockets in the wall from things that have lost the fight, and I just came by with cuttings to kind of fluff it back up again, because it was real tough to see the wall after the fact. But you know, one growing season is enough to make you forget it ever happened. I don't know how to say this one here, but I love this Anthurium.
Is it like a type of rugulosum, or?
So it's Anthurium argyrostachym,
Ooh.
if that's how you pronounce it, that's how you spell it.
Yeah.
And this is a higher elevation one that shouldn't grow here, but probably because of the mist. And it actually was all the way over here, and I needed some space, so I just cut it back, and that was hard to do. It's in a 4-inch pot, but it's like jump the pot and gone across.
Yeah, I love the corrugated look. I mean, I think that's kind of really, you know, in vogue, you know, so to speak.
And then one of my absolute favorites, these are, well, it's one big Philodendron luxurians. If you look in Exotica, it says choco, but just amazing plant. The colors are great, and I saw these in Ecuador, and they're just growing in the ground. Oh, they're from Colombia, but they're planted in the ground
in Ecuador. Yeah. Well, it just seems like a much more deliberate, deeper gloriosum.
Yes, right. Yeah. And so I've had people go to sell them to me and say it was luxurians, and you get it and you're like, that's gloriosum. So some of these things, when they're juvenile, they're pretty close. And you got to really be able to, you know, hold it up and go, well, that isn't gloriosum because, or that isn't luxurians because. Another one that's difficult is we were talking about gigas and melanochrysum. When they're juvenile, I You know, gigas is always much darker, but they are difficult when they're young. This piper is great too.
Wow,
I don't have a
look at that.
species.
Yeah, let's point that one out.
My, under the bench stuff is looking good too.
Under the bench. I love
And
under the bench.
this area has just really taken off. I want to clean it up, but it looks so good I don't want to touch it.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting distracted. Let's go back to this piper right here. Just so we don't have a species on this, but that is a pretty exquisite corrugated leaf, very thick,
Fuzzy on the back.
fuzzy on the back. Oh, and look at the petioles too. They're
Yes.
pretty fuzzy.
Now, what's another thing that's interesting about this plant is if you're here when people start coming in a little later, everyone walks in and says, what kind of Anthurium is that?
Oh, interesting.
Yes, and then also this Piper parmatum that I saw here the other day, that isn't here. Here's a green one. They're kind of green when they first start out.
Yeah.
This really gets...
Mine's really dark.
Yes, my others are darker, maybe because it's in the light.
Yeah.
It's in less light here.
Yeah.
They're black in the brighter shade house.
Yeah, exactly. Because mine's like practically black. I'm growing that in the terrarium, and I just love it. I mean, I love the look of them.
There's some really phenomenal pipers, and so that's another one that gets mistaken for an Anthurium all the time.
What's this hanging down here? Is this a type of Dischidia or person?
Yeah, Hirsutus. No, wait.
Hirsuta?
Hirsuta.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Dischidias as well. I like the name. Sounds a little dirty.
Yeah.
With a varicosum right here. And then what's this variegated strap leaf one right up above?
That's a variegated Vitarifolium. That's my last one of those. And usually they seed variegated, so I'm waiting for seeds on that.
Oh, interesting. It's not always the case, right?
Sometimes you'll get a few. I've got a bunch of variegated bird's nests out back.
Yeah.
Those, we got trays of variegated seeds, and then the ones that make it are the ones that kind of revert, and then they really get going. You're like, oh, I don't want some green bird's nests. Let's go, back to the variegated.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes I'll just smush things on the bench. Here's a bunch of Anthurium gracile. They're just growing on the wood.
Yeah, look at that.
The problem with wood is it rots, but the benefit is things like to grow on it, and it's amazing. The metal shade houses are just so sterile. They don't feel like this is like a garden that has established in here, and this building's been here for 12 years or so, 12 years. And, it's taken some hurricane damage, but it's just so cool, the things that have just decided that they live here, and they're climbing the posts, and they're,
Well, let's take a break here and look at what's under the bench, because I think under the bench is so cool. And it looks like you have a luxurians and some begonias and some signoniums, pink splash. Is this another piper right here? Or what is this?
This is Strophanthus, I believe is the name. Gets a purple flower. There might be some blooming in here. This is the prettiest weed. It comes up in my pots. There's actually times I go to ship a plant and I'll send them some rare plant they've ordered, and they'll be more excited about some of the great, I've got blue weeds and black weeds and some really interesting things that have come in on things from Thailand or South America, and it's just kind of interesting to see what comes up in there.
Yeah.
This is a really nice Anthurium. Actually, Dr. Crowett said that this is probably the type specimen for crystallinum, which looks so much more different from what we consider to be crystallinum, but it's absolutely gorgeous. These black leaves, and they've got a red sinus here. The new leaves, that's a nice one. The new leaves are just really phenomenal. This is a Philodendron esmeraldense.
Oh, that's
Nice,
much larger, I think, than the last time I've seen.
I was going to donate one of these to the auction and actually got in such a rush I forgot. I was going to bring one of these big ones, but I get to keep it. But
Wait till next year. Is that a Rhaphidophora corystalzii in the back, or what is that?
but I believe it's Hayi.
Hey, okay. It's like just.
It's popped the top, so it's gone out here, jumped the roof, and it's going over there.
Look at it.
Did you see the one at Fairchild that's gone up and then across the ceiling, upside down?
Yeah, it is just pretty amazing. I didn't see it at first, and then somebody pointed it out to me, and I was like, how did I miss that?
Yeah, right?
Sometimes you just have to look up.
Right. And if you like pipers, I have this piper. They call it bright eyes in Thailand. You can get it, but cool plant, easy to root, beautiful thing.
Really nice. It looks much more like a vining piper.
Yes, absolutely. Vining, it's going to come out and shade the whole.
It looks also one easily propagatable. Like you could just snip it and it already has those aerial roots on it. And
It's like self-propagating.
Wow,
It
that is
propagates
great.
into other pots. And then this is a hybrid. This is a really, it just got this new leaf. That's on the other side. I guess you can see this one better. That is Warocreanum and Papillanimum. And so it basically has the shape of Papillanimum, but then it's longer. It's got the Warrock. And it grows really well here, whereas both of the parents are kind of difficult. They can be difficult. They prefer to be cooler nights, and I don't have that. These are gorgeous right now.
yeah, that's a really nice variegation.
I love when I have variegation that's half and half like that.
Is that a pedatum or what is that? No, that's a bipenniform.
Yeah. Now, I had this years ago, and I put it on a tree, and it went green. And then it just shot up the tree, and I easily could have a pickup truck load of it, but no longer variegated. I don't know what I have going on in the ground here, but it will heal any variegated plants if I put it in the ground.
Cool. Another, I think this is another Dischidia.
That's a nice one, isn't it?
Yeah.
They do better than if they just get, this got loose.
Yeah.
It's a pretty plant.
Welcome to the jungle.
My mom made this.
That's so
Isn't
good.
that amazing?
That's so good.
So this is the new shade house. We used to have two little mist houses here, and they blew away. And this and the old rotten shed that was here when I moved here, and so it was kind of a blessing to lose all that and have to clear it. So now we were able to build this big thing.
Do you think this will stand up to the next storm?
I'm gonna come in here the next time. It will. Screen will rip, but you know, I said one negative is I said I think I might have just gotten to the point where it's a lot of plants. If there's a hurricane or some kind of emergency, I need some kind of plan, because those 3 were way too much work. 4, it's like that's a lot. This is as much stuff in here as there is in like 2 of those houses.
Well, this has got a lot more ceiling space. Are you planning on growing some really tall plants in here?
We are gonna hang things. I actually thought about a catwalk in the beginning. That'd be cool.
Are there any varieties here that you'd like to point out?
This is Calathea mosaica. This has been
looking really good.
Everybody loves this plant. It's just got such a great pattern on the closa. I know for far away it's a shiny green plant, but it's got this really cool crisscross pattern on the leaves, and loved by all. Probably out of all these rare things I have, the most popular plant in the place.
That's really interesting. It was hard to get for a little while here in the States, and you're probably one of the few people that have it right now in the States. Is this like one of those Aglaonemas? I can't. Do you know the name of this, the cultivar
pink
name?
one?
Yeah, with the pink lines.
I don't have it. Chad gave it to me actually at Fairchild.
It's a nice one. I have it at home, and I have like a couple potential IDs on it, but I never got the cultivar name.
We've got a bunch of, they call this Ring of Fire. These just got here and they just came out of the mist house, so they're still a little.
These ones right here?
Yeah.
Aren't they? They look like little variegated jungle boogies.
I know. Well, I think that's
Probably what.
what happens is something reverts and it gets a new name.
Yeah.
And then I've got a few of these Picta tricolors that they're coming along. Yeah, look, they're going to get seed. They get these on there and you're sure you have seed. And,
Yeah.
But just a really gorgeous plant. This is another one that if I had 1,000 of, they'd be gone by morning.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody just loved them. And they actually do well inside. Most of the things I grow, they really want the humidity. They really don't want to be inside. That plant doesn't care. And it's beautiful, which is a good combination. And then we have a batch of variegated monsteras coming along.
Wow, those look a lot larger than what we saw last time.
Well, they just got here. And they don't have a lot of roots yet.
Yeah.
It's a constant battle to get them good enough to ship. So yes, I have it, but it's not ready to leave. It'd probably be fine to go from here to somewhere down the street, but to go in a box to get bounced around if you don't have proper roots. And then same, there's a bunch of gloriosas coming along too. That's another one everybody loves. And here's more of that Piper Parmatum. Got a lot of plants right now.
Ready for sale. This one looked like it got a little bent right there. Oh no.
Oh, well, then like there's a stick there. How'd that? These are Philodendron postazanum. That used to go by McDowellii. There's always a lot of confusion with that. Actually, McDowellii was never a proper described name, and that's just the name that it went by here, and that's what we all called it.
What's this? Is this an Anthurium? What kind of?
It is, I believe, digitatum.
It's a nice one.
So it looks like, yeah, digitatum. It looks like this, but it's one of these with all the fingers. So when they're young, let's see if any are starting to branch out. It's more of like Pedata radiatum. Oh, actually, it's a leaf kind of like this.
Oh yeah, is that a variegated Schefflera?
Yes.
Tubidanthus?
Tubidanthus.
Yeah.
Then we have a few of the fiddle leaf ficus that everybody's going crazy for right now.
The variegated ones.
I have 6 of them. It's like you may as well not have it because it's gone if you put it on the website. So I'm trying to propagate a few. They should grow here. You know, I like to put some in the ground. And
here's some pink princesses. I know some people were like looking for those.
Yeah.
I don't think they're really that hard to get, but some people find it a little difficult, challenging. Maybe not.
People importing them, they were just everywhere. This is a plant I was throwing out a couple years ago, and now I wish I could go dig them back out of the bushes because they're not around. No one's growing them, and if they are, they've already gone through. You know, they've gone through them all.
How about this one right here? Do you know?
Philodendron holtonianum.
Oh, holtonianum. Okay.
This is cool. This is a better looking plant when it's juvenile like this. As when it gets bigger, it's a wider leaf and just not nearly.
This one has a really interesting variegation right here.
That is cool. We call it Thai sunrise. What's interesting to me on this one, when it reverts, let me get my hand at it.
No,
when it reverts, it reverts yellow. So usually if something reverts, it goes green. So it goes to the lighter color.
And that's a philodendron right
yes,
there.
Yeah. So like here's some that were like this.
Oh yeah, look at that.
And then they went yellow instead of green.
Yeah.
But it's still a beautiful plant like that.
Very beautiful plant. And it's also nice to get a little bit of a light color like that. I find in my green wall, I love having that lime neon green because it just, you know, gives a diversion away from the dark green that you often see.
Well, I mean, so if you look at this area right here, just across through the middle, there's probably 10 different species of philodendrons, but it's just all green. And so like you say, some of these blues on this histatum.
The glaucus, yeah, is beautiful right there.
Right, and it used to be so on a green wall, the yellow's just great.
Yeah. Well, this you did a fantastic job. I mean, we haven't seen this structure. It looks absolutely beautiful. I mean, let's just pray that there's no more storms that are going to come this way. Because
we don't get as many as the news would have you believe. I know that every time there's something in South Africa, or
so
coming
surprising.
Off of Africa, they're going on like it's the end of the world. And then when you know, you're not supposed to worry until a few days before, you drive yourself crazy. So.
Well, this is great, Enid. I mean, thank you so much for taking the time out to actually show us more of your stuff in the heat of the summer when it's looking
hot out today.
So lush and so green right now. Hey guys, so I hope you really enjoyed that tour here at NSE Tropicals. I mean, it is a jungle in here. If you haven't yet, you could also look at the older videos that we shot at NSE Tropicals because there are certain species there that we covered that we didn't cover here today. And if you like these episodes, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and you could follow along on my journey every day on Instagram at Homestead Brooklyn and on my website at homesteadbrooklyn.com. See you next week.